is here for Ever 8's draft, trying to make Jin guess and react to what they're doing.
Heavily expecting it to be top lane just because Marang's more of the aggressive school of thought.
Now what about the Fizz? Because this one also,
That's true.
Something that we saw so much in the top lane,
Well,
and that Faker yet again brings it out.
Now it is so on. You mentioned that he'd played Shen. His actual win rate on true tanks like Shen and Maokai is 0%. He lost on both of them. He's a carry top lane player. He made Jin look stronger because he actually had lane pressure in the early game, which is certainly not a staple of Jin and their extended long games, waiting for tanks in the top lane to hit 4 items and become unkillable. So he changes the way the team plays, so heavily expecting it to be the top lane Fizz into Gragas, which of tank matchups is the best tank matchup, has to sustain the early game, can itemize Spirit Visage, and build a bit of armor and BK. So we're expecting that to be the top lane matchup, but the flex picks are back. It feels like every time an international event rolls around, there's flex picks in the meta, and we're seeing a couple of them already selected. As when it comes to the bans, some respect shown for Scepted on the Syndra, 7-2 in the regular season over in Challenger, and success in the playoffs as well. It's a big pick for him.
Yep. See the LeBlanc, Syndra banned away from the mid lane here, so trying to pinch down onto Kuzan's champion pool just a little bit. Graves will be removed from the jungle, so Jin showing that they're expecting that Gragas to be up top for Helper.
And we're expecting a first pick Lee Sin, probably on the side of Jin Malrang will take Lee Sin if it's available. They've already banned the Graves, so the Lee Sin priority is very high now. Elise and Lee Sin are premier junglers that are available. Trying to ban away strong mid lane champions as well. Kuzan has kind of struggled for performance this year. Taliyah was his best performing champion, so they just go with the win rates and ban away the Taliyah.
Well, you mentioned the Lee Sin. Hover coming through here already for Umti. And will likely be that lockdown.
Like I said, it's very, very high priority with the Graves taken away, and because Marang is Graves and Lee Sin as big picks. Has Marang been putting something together, something different? Because it could still be the Gragas flex to the jungle. We're heavily expecting Disengage to go with what is looking more like a Juggernaut comp than just a standard Protect the Cogmore. But that part is not confirmed just yet. Or he could just go for the strongest dueling jungler available. Elise will be the tier list pick, that's for sure.
Could see this locked in, then going to be looking for that mid lane here for Scepted. Something like the Orianna is available to try to couple in with this Juggernaut composition.
Ahri is a big pick for him. As you say, wouldn't necessarily fit the Orianna side of things, but they have a lot of magic damage, and we talked about, of course, in the final, when you pair Elise and you get other incidental magic damages, which they have 4 of, the solo lane champions here, and it also kind of takes away Fizz as a flex, because Talon does very well into Fizz in the mid lane, can disengage damage with the ultimate, and thus be not taking any further damage after the fish, so Talon in mid lane is the choice. So they start off showing Juggernaut, and then they kind of go a bit more balanced, but Lulu and Cogmore have innate synergy, of course. We're waiting to see what the mid lane choice will be. Kuzan has flexed the Malzahar before, but there's no flex about this, or is there? As we're unsure if it will just be Karma mid lane against the Talon. Wave clearing. Doesn't have his great itemization. Can't so naturally go into Athene, so my first instinct is that it'll be Malzahar mid lane. But for now, we're not sure.
They do have till about 20 seconds on that clock to get things shifted around. For now, Kuzan does have the Karma, the TP, and the Flash there. And seems like this might just be the lock-in here for Jin
20 seconds is when the players have to finally swap, so will he just be doing his best first Doinby impression, then I guess Faker impression now to keep it Korean. Yep, 20 seconds roll through, so it will be Karma mid lane. Itemization there will be interesting, given that, like we mentioned, Athene's such an obvious pick against champions like LeBlanc, which is exactly what Faker was looking to shut down with Athene's Unholy Grail in games 2 and 3 of the final. Of course, could be a Morellonomicon, could be more traditional itemization, but you don't get the double whammy of magic resist and also the health and magic regen in that particular case. So interesting drafts and definitely influenced by big matches around the world. It's a world meta as it exists now in League of Legends, and being reflected in our first game of the promotions.
I mean, personally, I was hoping for Kuzan to go with a Pantheon counter pick in the mid lane, run that one in.
Oh boy. That one runs, but it's straight up mid.
Yeah,
actually.
It goes right down the mid lane. But here we go. I mean, we're going to get our first look of Scepted here in the arena.
And of course, has played live matches. Africa TV hosting the challenges scene live, but this is different. First time on the OGN stage. some experience in support and top lane for Ever8, but other players will need to step up. The OGN arena is what all these players have strived for throughout their careers. They make it here today, but they may exit today as well.
Yeah, want to avoid that at all costs, especially the likes of Jin want to reestablish their spot in LCK Summer. It all starts right here. Let's go ahead and get onto the Rift. Surprising amount of fans showing up here for Ever8, their first appearance in the OGN studio, as you say, and a decent amount of people coming out on a Tuesday afternoon.
Tuesday 1 p.m. for a school and work day is a big ask, so it's cool to see the fans. It is Open Fans Day, so even if you're watching from home in Seoul, please come and join us.
Yeah, it's free admission.
Free admission, no tickets required, obviously. Expected not to be the packed full houses when it is these challenger and low-tier LCK teams, but they all want to make it back to LCK Summer. LCK Spring is now in the books. Wonderful season, perhaps the best of all time. Maybe not capped off with the final we were hoping for.
Yeah.
To anoint itself officially that title, but a great season nonetheless. As Jin have got some deep vision down, they are going to see Malrang with his start. Let's see how many are stolen away. 20 gold. So 2 of the small raptors stolen away means no level 2 to kill the big raptor, and suddenly Malrang will actually lose and have to smite. So that actually was a very successful counter jungle by Kuzan, because you need to get all the small raptors, maybe barring one, to hit level 2 and be able to clear that big raptor without smite.
Yeah, so really good start from him. Nice aggressive push forward, and Empty, he's going to go ahead and rotate down. Starts up the blue buff.
So this is a multi-step process from Jined. Because they counter jungle and saw the smite, they know there's no way for Malrang to be able to tussle with Umti, so they will get the blue buff steal. The Elise knows what's happening, but there's nothing she can do because she had to use Smite, was in vision. Jin already have gotten some tech, the sort of stuff that we didn't necessarily see from them in the regular season. They put their time to good use as we focus on the bottom lane. And Snowflower's got the blue buff as well, so that was off screen, but at the same time, they've allowed Snowflower to get in to get a lead. You could just put out the Voidlings to tank up the friendly blue buff. And so consider how many things happened at the same time. Warded the enemy raptors, contested it with the Karma, saw the smite go down, which allowed the blue buff friendly to go to the side of Jin. But we're talking about that rock, paper, scissors, and the Elise is here.
Yeah, wraparound is coming in. Slowed up is Teddy. Flash forward, comes in with the exhaust. Teddy going low. Malrang getting exhausted out by Snowflower, and Teddy is able to get the first blood. Fires off the 90 caliber net. The trap comes down, locking in Ella. He falls, and now Kuzan with the TP gets the rune in onto Duel, who will fall. A second kill coming in for the Karma, and Jin 3-1, very decisive.
And you hear the squeals from the Jin fans. They should be happy. They won the early game with their all-in press, taking the friendly blue buff, contesting the enemy raptors, and then blue. And then they had the teleport advantage. So Ever8, you could see that Malrang, this aggressive young jungler, felt pressured because of losing buffs, wanted to punish somewhere, but were against a summoner spell advantage. And Teddy, predictably, he saw the enemy jungler, and look where he jukes to. He jukes straight into the brush, and you could say, okay, that's the drop vision, but remember, he also gets the extra headshots, so he just turns on Malrang and kills him straight up. Blue buff for Snowflower means that he has the extra level, and Kuzan rolls in on the backside and gets the kill. So really, really one-sided stuff for Jin off the back of an innovative and on-point early game. This is the sort of stuff that makes Jin look like a contender in the LCK, not a 9th place squad. But remember, both Jin and Kongdu went 2-1 match-wise out of their last 3 and looked significantly better. That was after they were already confirmed in the promotion, but it does mean they come into this with a point to prove.
Really concisive stuff here from the side of Jin getting way more cohesive as a team than we've seen from them in quite some time. Umti especially, reacting very well into the jungle, getting away that blue buff to start things off, and Kuzan pulling the trigger on the TP instantly. So already a nice advantage, 1,300 gold in their favor as they keep rolling. And I mean, for the most part, CS going even if not to their advantage. Across the board, Kuzan duking it out with Septon, who goes forward, but Umti Arise has the shield. It's not enough to keep him alive. He will bleed out with the help of that Ignite. But they trade it back.
Yeah, Kuzan actually misjudged the damage of the Ignite and the passive because he was taking a couple of shots from minions. If he had just backed away, wouldn't have done this. Umti just
that's awkward.
Rolls in, Lee Syndrome there for a second, but not enough to actually fall down.
He thought he could get behind the minions with the dash there before the Cocoon would come out, but actually gets locked up and goes low. Other than that, doesn't lose anything. Already had to use the flash to help get the kill.
I've been watching much of top lane. Lane supremacy for the Fizz, but the CS advantage not the one-sided CS advantage we've seen for Fizz in some matchups. Progress can be very much a factor in this lane. We'll probably just go the budget Rod of Ages, the triple Doran's ring, and try to push. You can max Q and just basically not commit to any melee fights. Man, bot lane with the pickaxe longsword start. Already, it's struggle street for Kog'Maw.
Oh, he's waiting in the tri-brush. They don't have vision on duels. They don't know exactly where he's recalling.
He actually completes the recall, though. A lot of players will try to hold the recall, especially when they have flash in the hopes that they can bait something and use the Vampiric Scepter to get up. But definitely some realism on the side of Duel. He knows he can't afford to fall twice in laning phase. Otherwise, they'll never be able to get there.
MT, though, now making another round over
Still
towards that mid lane.
Not quite level 6 yet.
Yes, Scepted does have 6, has that Shadow Assault ready to go. Gonna be the tether coming down, takes the jump over the wall.
Tether's long range.
Yeah, locks him in, he takes a little bit of damage, but Umti, no way to get on top of the Talon, so he's just gonna go ahead, wrap around, start taking out those wolves.
So basically the way this Everate comp works is it's not a Juggernaut like we first suspected. You could tell when they pivoted towards the Talon and Elise. Is that the Elise and Talon are there to kind of anchor the early game. Juggernaut was a big thing in 2015 spring, because it felt like it was quite easy to extend games, and a lot of measures have been put into League of Legends around turrets and other reinforcements to allow more lane snowball to happen. For example, there's no lane swaps, which also was a factor that allowed for very comfortable early games, even in bad matchups. So now you kind of can't go full Juggernaut without just being threatened where you go down 3 kills and you just get rolled over in the mid game, and the games can actually end fast enough that the Juggernaut never comes online. So they have the Talon and Elise, and also, they have the synergy of Talon in the early game. You get 3 kills on Talon, you roll in with a Wild Growth, get a second Rake off, and you can do massive AoE damage. So the thought here is try and baby the Kog'Maw through laning phase with roams from the Talon, with the ganking pressure of Elise, and then late game, it's not quite a full investment into Juggernaut, but it still will be 3-4 item Kog'Maw, and that in its own right is very powerful and can carry over, say, the damage fall off of a Talon in late game.
We'll see how Duel is about surviving the remainder of this laning phase here. Down about 20 CS at the moment, as you might expect. Caitlyn with that added passive range that she has over top. Has been really good harassment out by Teddy and Snowflower in that bottom lane, just consistently chunking him out and keeping him underneath the turret. To make it as hard as possible for him to get those last hits off.
Snowflower getting extra experience from the blue buff also means his level 6 will be online more reliably. Very likely to hit level 6 soon with the XP advantage, even though he spent some time out of lane.
It's coming up right about now. So actually, there we go. Does get pinged as soon as we swap the camera off. So now Duel going to be having to play that much more cautiously. But I say that, Empty doing the complete opposite. Walks in blind. Cocoon straight into the burst damage from that Shadow Assault, and he goes down.
It was very much a vision tussle, and in the end, Umti's the one that was too recklessly aggressive. A lot of those wins late in the season weren't Umti, remember. They were Raze, who is available and in the studio today. Geneva have had a great start. Still 1,000 gold up, but Everate are not rolling over, and that's what we can see from Challenger teams, but not a team that just won the Challenger final 3 days ago.
Yeah. Elper wrapping around. Kuzan spotted him out. Ward next to the Raptor pit there. Keeps himself safe, but considerable amount of damage thrown down onto that turret here for Everate, trying to get themselves set up for that first break if possible.
Looks like Kuzan might actually just rush Zhonya's to allow him to play the Nullifier role. When we saw Faker playing the Karma, again, against the LeBlanc, we talked about it, was the Athene's rush, and the teleport was taken basically to stop the LeBlanc from split pushing. Talon doesn't need teleport to split push, but we know he's most comfortably played in a side lane, so basically the itemization is just to nullify the Talon split push rather than to get the most out of the Karma pick offensively.
Wrapping his way around here, turret going low. Could just be the first brick. Couple more shots will do it. One more from Teddy, 2 more. And there we go, goes down. So Jin Air picking up that first turret, pushing their gold a bit further ahead here, just over 2,000 in the lead at the moment. They'll look to tack a little bit more onto that with the Infernal Drink being started up by Umti. He'll be able to solo this one out.
Amusingly, this was another one of the things that was rolled into the game after the fall of Juggermore was things like Drakes. When it came to the elemental Drakes, you could get really, really unlucky. You know, if you seed the early game, which you often do, picking Cogmore lanes, you basically don't have control around the bot side of the map, and if a couple of Infernals roll in, even with the Cogmore coming online, especially when you take Caitlyn, a champion that is very strong, 5-6 items, you can be punished by the RNG factor there as well. So a lot of incidental things kind of led to pure Juggermore falling away. And we see this one that straddles the line, but even then, if Everate continue to give over the Drakes and can't find a split push with Karma nullifying, there is a chance that we'll never see the late game dream that every Cogmore Lulu team is drafted around.
Well, for now, just trying to get that Blade of the Runekin coming in. Cutlass is there alongside that recurve bow, so he's very close to having it. That's the first step, but even from there, going to be looking for something like the Hurricane. Perhaps even the Rage Blade, as we've seen from time to time.
Wit's End also a possibility, but against the team he's facing, it certainly will get some value.
Yeah, 3 AP damage sources.
There's a lot of disagreement on Cogmore builds. We've seen, of course, the Wit's End Rageblade build from, I believe it was Sangyun, long time ago now, right at the start of the season, before the last Cogmore resurgence, let's say. There was also Blade of the Ruin King Hurricane build. We see Deft, who was loving the Trinity Force build, is Umti again.
Coming in, yeah, Umti get a flash over the wall. Takes a little bit of damage here.
Can't really afford to miss any spells, because otherwise you really lose a lot of value out of the passive, so that's why when they didn't register, it's backed away. Talon's so graceful. Whenever I see Talon, I think of Mirror's Edge.
Yeah. Let me get a second one.
Yeah, they've been talking about it for a long time.
I think it's supposed to release maybe later this year.
Not necessarily endorsement of the game, but the aesthetic and the movement of Mirror's Edge was super cool.
And for the time that it came out especially, it was pretty ahead of itself, you have to say.
People will say the same thing about Talon's rework.
Yeah, it's actually really funny because the CEO, there's a picture of the CEO of EA Games, and he looks exactly like the villain from the next Mirror's Edge game.
There's a story there. Huh. Let's not talk about video game history too much, but I know that Mirror's Edge was kind of their proof of concept. That didn't have to just be sequels of games. It could be new ideas. So I can see where they're coming from with that, given that that game was supposed to come out like 3 years ago.
I'm one of those people where it's like, you know, if the game comes out when it's ready, I'm happy. Same thing with movies. I don't think they need to be rushed as long as the finished product ends up being good.
How do you explain Duke Nukem Forever, then Achilles? That came out. Apparently it was ready.
Should have just never happened, is how that one goes.
Hey, when I was a kid, Duke Nukem 3D was hella cool.
Hey, I remember playing it as well.
You could urinate in the bathrooms. That was a big thing back then.
It's the next generation.
That was the next generation in the 90s, man.
And then your Sims could urinate.
That's true.
It's amazing. It's a great
bodily
time.
Functions
though, he's not having a good time.
His bodily functions are gone.
Yeah, he's they have shut down.
Took his hands off the keyboard in frustration, did Umti. It's going to be a long day.
It is. The loopiness is already setting in.
I just had my Hot 6 energy drink. I'm ready to roll.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. They're not a sponsor of LCK.
That's true. Or of anything, I think, right now as we speak. But they'll be back.
Yeah.
They're always back. So one, just trying to be annoying. Went for the Sheen actually before completing his defensive itemization. Send some Spirit Visage into Trinity Force Fizz, but often you get at least a Spectre's Cowl before you go into the damage. See, this is interesting itemization. Scepted's actually gone for a Snowball QSS, which is very interesting to me. You look at the opponent lineup, and obviously there's value in the QSS against the Malzahar roam with something like the Boots of Mobility. Against the Karma straight up, the Tether, I guess, is slightly irrelevant, but very much wants to play a split push game. But when you're already going a nerf lethality build, going for QSS this early, seems like you're really sacrificing a lot of your mid-game damage output for safety, which could be, theoretically at least, achieved with wards.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a rough time. Scepted right now with the Talon, kind of looking like on with his play there.
Pons LeBlanc.
Yeah. It's reminiscent.
Reminiscent, you say? Is that really something people go for? Being reminiscent of Pons LeBlanc from the final?
I mean, it didn't hurt. I'm sure, but unfortunately, that's where it's landing at the moment.
2 1-on-1s, doing fine. Good to see Malrang and Sceptid rotating together. These two as a duo, they are the young guns who look great in Challenger, but the collapse would start. But you can see Umti and Snowflower end up just slowing themselves down.
Teddy, just go ahead, stick around in this mid lane. Needs to respect the damage output without, well, that W is up here for duel, but otherwise, just slowly, steadily chipping away at that mid-tier 1 turret. So very close to having a second one on the board. Just moving the gold along even further. Body slam, not going to connect. Neither will that playful trickster. Explosive cast coming out from Helper, just keeping so on off of him.
I actually never appreciated this interaction, but you notice Duel was spending a lot of time avoiding the traps in the mid lane, even when Teddy moved away. And because he's gone Infinity Edge straight up, there is the chance that you step on a trap and you take a headshot crit and just basically have to exit lane. So because he's gone the Infinity Edge build, you have to respect the trap line even more than usual, which not an interaction that we've really considered, but does make it quite difficult for Kog'Maw to wave clear in mid. As we got to pause, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we do. So starting things off right today. Have a pause coming in. See what the issue is. And
it's only 1 p.m. local time. We've got plenty of hours to get through on 3 best-of-3s.
Oh, I know. I've been working on mentally preparing myself for this for about a week.
I missed this day last year. It was you and Monty, I believe, who did the first 3-match day.
That sounds correct, yeah. And then I ended up closing.
I remember I was just like, I just can't do Tuesday, and then Monty didn't look and see it was the 3 best-of-3 day.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, whoops.
Yeah. Oh, what a convenience here for me.
And then Monty left, and I have to do all the days.
Yeah, that was the reason, actually. That was the straw.
It's true.
That was the straw that broke Monty's back.
It wasn't anyone else, guys. I'm sorry. I gave him the 3-match day, and that was just when it dawned on him. No more LCK for me.
People have been touting a whole lot of things. Relationship with Riot, Overwatch on the rise.
It
but
was
it was
the one
just
best.
that one day.
And yet, they give it to me this season. You know? I don't know if I'll be back in summer, Achilles.
They're trying to get rid of you.
Speaking of teams that may or may not be back in summer.
Either of these.
Exactly.
Well, I guess it wouldn't really be back in summer for Ever 8. It'd be a bit of the same.
We're just rolling over here, Achilles. This is going to be a long day. Work with me. Come on. Make your color cost look good, etc., etc.
I'm just trying to be grammatically correct. Technically correct. All at the same time.
We have someone in this game called Sceptid. What does that mean?
It's like when a Southern student gets accepted to college.
You can be intercepted and you can be accepted, but can you ever just be scepted?
Yeah. Got accepted to school.
Grammatically correct, huh? Starting off on the right foot. Which school did you go to again?
Temple University.
Okay.
It's a top college in the States, actually.
Kuzan, pretty brazen, has gone for the Athenes anyway. Athenes Ninja Tabi. Has also finished up the Ardent Sensor, so cheap itemization means the Karma's build's already very much online.
This has got to be so frustrating for Teddy. It's so close. He's been here for just minutes.
He's been sitting on a lot of gold, too. He hasn't shopped in quite a while.
Yeah. Should see that Hurricane perhaps coming through for him. He wants to change up the build a little bit, but there we go. Finally got the turret. Says, you know what? I'm not going to buy anything until I kill that damn turret.
I consider Phantom Dancer just because Elise and Talon are trying to burst you, so the 12% damage reduction might be relevant there, but Hurricane is the most damage, certainly. When it comes to AoE
seems
fights.
like it's going to be Hurricane with that. It could be still. I don't know. We'll see where he wants to go. Seems like Hurricane might be the pickup for now. Maybe he goes Hurricane and Phantom Dancer for the most attack speed.
It's pretty common, actually, when you go Infinity Edge, going Double Zeal. But play the Ruin King, too. Double Zeal very much in meta right now.
Trying to hold on to this turret. See Snowflower wrapping around. Helps Kuzan keep this one safe. So, really just so much standing gold on the map for Ever 8 at this point. Haven't been able to answer anything. It's already 2 Drakes here for Jin 3 turrets up. Even in kills, but the CS is... it's pretty damning here from every lane. 40 up for Teddy. 14 for Kuzan. And about 30 there for So On.
In every meaningful role, there is a CS advantage. The jungle CS can always be a bit misleading. I follow your logic. And you're never really sure how to evaluate these scaling comps like the one that Ever 8 is running. Item timings will be big for them. Will they be significantly more than for the Caitlyn and Fizz? You know, that's where you kind of have to really do some approximate math, and there is still power in the late game for Jin Air, so certainly advantage Jin Air. But Everate have been at least trying to nip at their heels, if not able to close what has been a good early game for Jin Air.
Well, pushing in, getting some deep vision. They're going to lose out on this control ward immediately, but I think they really want to go in to fight Septed in the Sonic Wave, but they don't know where the rest of the team is. Know that they should be collapsing in on the area.
This is the right play from Jin Air. Keep pushing your vision line forward. Take these objectives.
It's a full 5 in the bottom lane right now. They're going to force up this turret as best as they can. Septed getting chunked out. Steady firing away. Gets a couple shots in. Get down to half HP, but the wave clear is going to be here from the Karma from that built over Peacemaker, so they're just going to go ahead and try to get this one. Kuzan getting locked down by the Cocoon. Takes a little bit of damage. Taking up the turret as well. Drops the big shields in for the team. They take out the tower, and Jin Air will exit safely.
Yeah, what they realize is even though there's good wave clear from the Talon, he's not going to jump into 4 members, and there's no other initiation barring an optimistic flash Cocoon.
Yeah, without having the Gragas there.
Yeah, the Gragas is not there, and even then Gragas engage is pretty easy to navigate away from after the fixed travel time on the ultimate. So yeah, seeing Helper on the map gave them relative safety. Another free objective, and the turret was full HP in the top lane, so we're able to defend that very quickly. So standing goal goes from being a bit of an outside consideration to a really big one at this point, as So1 misses the fish.
Yeah, jump in the water, it's not going to connect, so Septed will be all right. Just going to trade that ultimate for the Yomu's active. Snowflower, though, getting jumped on. Will flash away before that explosive cast can come down, so Helper not going to be able to isolate him and take him out. Jin Air staying safe, but I mean, that's a potential pick tool taken away there from Snowflower. Can't get the flash forward with another grasp. Try to lock somebody like Jewel down.
Usually that's a really big factor when it comes to flash nether grasp being important, but my first instinct this game is that you just use the nether grasp on Septed as a pick tool. You're not going to be able to flash kill a Kog'Maw because everyone else is basically trying to build up that Kog'Maw in the backline, so we'll see how critical the flash is. Of course, could just be caught warding with no flash on the Malzahar.
Trying to push in here, get some vision down, clear out that control ward. Drops another one in the brush as the lanes just kept getting moved up towards those inner turrets.
Look how awkward this is. Duel also has to itemize early into QSS.
Gonna go forward, the tether coming down is gonna flash, takes himself out of range. Get clipped by a little bit of damage, the headshot will come through. The ace in the hole rather from Teddy.
The last pick, Malzahar, is doing so much work, Achilles, because the team that's behind and needs scaling itemization is being forced into QSS. So it's a 5k gold lead, but double QSS, another 2,500 gold that hasn't gone into the building block items. So in a straight up 5v5, Everate are effectively 7k gold behind their opponents and thus can't even fight.
Yep, I can see So1 just feeling free to go ahead and continue the split push down to the bottom side of the map. Has the TP ready so he can join his team on a moment's notice. Maybe even interrupt that of Helpers if he sees that start to go. Can toss the chum of the waters and try to make his way over. But for now, Jin Air is still just posturing forward in this top lane, looking to take out this turret. They just have it knocked down below half HP, and Duel really gets chunked out. The Mantra Q's coming through.
22 minutes,
right through that Kog'Maw.
22 minutes in. Everate have access to the minions when they crash into inner or Nexus turrets, so sorry, inner or inhibitor turrets, and maybe a single jungle camp on their red side, but nothing more. The team that wants to play the side lane game hasn't been able to, and Talon, he's looking for a gank, but Fizz can be hard to lock down.
Shadow Assault comes through, but so does Chum the Waters. They knock Septed up. So1 still just trying to sprint his way out of here. Obviously no flashes. He's taking the exhaust. He has the troll pole, works himself further away, gets himself out to safety. And they get the tier 2 in top as well. So last inner turret standing in the mid lane, and Jin Air, they're just pinging for the Baron.
I mean, if you run a Talon comp and don't get access to a single turret pre-23 minutes, this can be the result where they have access to no lane, some wave clear, no initiation. And as you say, Jin Air onto Baron, it's at 50% HP. But Everate smell a rat and they'll back away.
All right, well, Jin Air, they go ahead. They make the measured play. They decide to just peel off that one. Don't think it's going to be as damning as it was for KT Rolster in the final, as they're just so very far ahead and don't have to worry about falling off late. So they just go ahead and peel back off of that one. It was a very fast Baron. I mean, it feels like this game is so much later. Maybe it's because Jin Air is in the game, but it's really just 23.5 minutes in.
I mean, Jin Air has been so measured, so impressive in this game. The best performance I've seen from them since very early in the season.
Yeah.
when
they took down Afrika 2-0.
Yeah, exactly. Before they were, mathematically calculated out of playoffs, then into promotions. They are playing in a different ebb. This would be 3 wins and 1 loss in match score in a row for this team, who of course haven't played for multiple weeks since the end of the regular season. And it was with a lineup we didn't expect. It's with So1 and Umti, where So1 was in and out, but looking quite good on these offensive fighter top lane champions that admittedly are in the meta. We're seeing so much more Kennen and Fizz and Jace in the top lane in recent weeks, which definitely fits So1 better than it does Ixu, who's more of the Nautilus and Gragas top school of thought. And also Umti, been able to calm the nerves and get over the frustrations that were definitely dogging him in the later parts of the season. From level 1, they had a plan, they executed on it well, and Everett, who wanted the Talon and Elise to carry through in the early game, got targeted around those areas, and the late game looks like it'll never come because Duel is still 1 damage item at 25 minutes on Cogmo.
Yep. And I mean, you mentioned Umti. Honestly, just outside of that 1 death earlier on, just face checking into the brush, that was pretty much his really only mistake.
He hasn't been a superstar. You can see he's actually behind his opponent, but his warding has been good. He's been shadowing the enemy jungler, and they needed Elise and Talon to get ahead to allow Duel to get ahead, and instead, Duel was targeted, then Helper was targeted, and there's been no access on the map to the Talon.
Yeah, I mean, it's been all about his team play in this one. Not the individual outperformances that you see sometimes from Lee Sin, such as Peanut and whatnot, or Score when he pilots it. But Umti, he's been playing with the team well. He's been playing reactively. He's there to back up when he needs to be. Backing up Kuzan, almost keeping alive in that mid lane and helping to turn that fight and get an answering kill in on the Septed. So he's been at the right places at the right time.
I'm hyped about Jin Air, something I haven't been able to say very often this season or even in the last couple of years. But to have a start like that, where they contested Raptors, then contested enemy blue, all the while their Malzahar Caitlyn taking blue buff and accelerating Malzahar's rush to 6 and help the bottom lane laning phase, is the sort of 3-part plan that I only see from the top teams when they've really had a lot of time to prepare for a best of 5. Instead, in this opening best of 3 of the day, it feels like that lead they got at level 1 was just too much for Everett to overcome.
Yep. Now a 3rd dragon stacked up here for Jin Air to get that 2nd Ocean Drake. There'll be a 3rd one on the way. Go ahead and close this out before that Elder Dragon comes up. But Baron, not touched now for about 3 minutes. Vision's control still very much in the hands of Jin Air.
Just the most anemic Kog'Maw you've ever seen. Still just on Zeal and Blade of the Ruin King.
He's got Berserker Greaves.
He does. His frontline Fizz he's going to have to tussle with has a Guardian Angel already, so that's going to take a while to get through.
Best of luck. Well, there you go. The Hurricanes finally come through.
It's a start. As Teddy also goes for
a very late one.
A QSS himself, but has a Merc Scimitar. That's a very expensive item.
Yes, it is.
About the same price as an Infinity Edge, so.
Yeah, has that completed on top of everything else. So he's got plenty of damage, it turns out. Another Zeal would do well for him to have that increased crit rate, but outside of that, he is a very powerful Caitlyn.
So I watched the semi-final, which also was a gauntlet style, if you're wondering, when it came to challenges. Everett versus Ban Please, which BPZ, it's a hilarious name. And in that match, Duel and Ella got solo killed or 2v2 killed quite a lot, and that was kind of a worry for me. And then you have to consider that Teddy was the shining light of Jin Air, so it wasn't necessarily a lane bullying duo. It's a Malzahar support that usually falls behind, but with blue buff, and just given the quality of Teddy, they've taken over the duo lane, put the same sort of hurt onto Duel without necessarily 2v2 killing them, and they're winning this through the bot lane, Jin Air.
Here we go, trap line set up, Duel going low, Wild Growth comes out, he's in the hole, connects, no one body blocking, Teddy just snipes him out on the back line. They'll get the turret to boot, and Jin Air can just rotate straight over to Baron. Everett looking completely on separate pages.
I mean, stage jitters on the OGN stage. How could nobody stand in front? Flashes were up. There were multiple different ways. The communication for a second goes wrong, and after 28 minutes have been dictated to.
Oh, Helper. He completes it. There's a trap waiting for him, plus a Nether Grasp. He goes down. Jin Air turning straight back over to the Baron, and Well, Ever8 looking like they're just trying to pull the trigger on anything, but they're just tossing Hail Marys one at a time as they pile in and get picked off.
Yeah, the communication certainly does not seem to be good from the side of Ever8. First with the block, then with Helper completing the teleport. Had to cancel it. Didn't do so. And the end result is Baron with superior split pushes, with duel now, with no flash. Everything working for Jin Air, and this might be the push to end game 1.
Looking that way. Still very early. The death timers are not long. It's just 12 seconds left here before Helper comes up. Does have that explosive cask still to try to disperse these minions and stop Jin Air from pushing in, but they're onto the turret already, down to half HP as they look to break this inhibitor line. Very early on, Septon coming in from the sidelines, gets jumped on. The kickback comes in from Umpty. They'll jump over the wall. Malefic Vision's not enough to take him down, but he is out of the fight. Jin Air, they pile straight back in. Redemption coming through, gonna pop them all back up as they look to get this inhibitor down. So on, still feeling more than healthy to stick around in the front lines. Pushing right back in. They get it. They can exit as a team with that speed up in the shields. They're going to maybe try to answer this mid-tier 1, but that's going to be the first tower that Ever8's been able to take this entire game.
And that's what happens when you straddle the line between early game and late game. They decided to go with the Talon, but you need to be so clean on the execution in the early and mid game. Otherwise, you get to this awkward spot where the Talon hasn't contributed what they needed it to. Jin Air was so good in playing around the mid lane that while Septon is on a one-man mission for relevance, definitely doesn't want to face check Fizz.
Definitely not. So on, very formidable here, even with just having a Trinity Force as his damage contributing items. He's been wreaking havoc despite the 0-0-1 scoreline that he has for himself. Has been very instrumental in these pushes, playing up in that front line, just keeping Duel constantly afraid of that Chum the Water is coming out.
Jin Air's full court press. There's no real resistance from Ever8, especially with Baron buff. Now suddenly Rake doesn't clear the back line. Kog'Maw can't walk up to get Hurricane Bolt. He knows he's going to be taken down by someone on the side of Jin Air. Even a headshot crit will slow down the march of the Kog'Maw. Waiting for Jin Air to break the base again. The minions haven't pushed in from the top, but the super minions are coming slowly.
Working their way in. Helper going to get locked down yet again by the trap. Wild Growth coming through, but the headshots coming out is just too much damage. Teddy helps take him down. Gets an answering kill onto Duel as well. So on, still splitting in the bottom lane, just Septon running for the hills. He's exiting with as much grace as you could possibly have during this crushing of a loss. 11,000 gold about on the board here for Jin Air as they bring the super creeps, now empowered by Baron, into these final 2 towers standing between Jin Air and the Nexus. Redemption yet again popping them back up. They'll work these down, and that's just going to be game 1 going over to them. One of the cleanest games we've ever seen Jin Air play. 31.5 minutes to take down Ever8 here in game 1.
And clean is not even the word that I think that's the most interesting to ascribe to Jin Air. Decisive. Pristine, very smart early game that was aggressive, but also juggled their resources with the enemy's resources. They looked like an LCK caliber team, and